brief introduction. I would like to give a brief introduction about the speaker. Both the speakers are the life members of APME, and both have more than 3 decades of services, and both of them will be superannuating this month end in this direction. Now, firstly, I will introduce about Dr. Shivananda. He joined his services, ARS service in 1984. As of now, he has more than 36 years of service. He started his service in isotope laboratory at IHR, ENDP project, followed by he served in CHES Chetali, regional station of IHR, and he came back to IHR during the year 1999. After which he joined medicinal section, and he developed several agro techniques for some of the medicinal crops. Then in 2005, he shifted to Division of Extension and Training, wherein he looked after the ATIC. In ATIC, his contributions are significant, particularly in population of technologies. Maybe at that time he has developed his interest in crop production along with Dr. Varghese. He is instrumental in coming out with some of the plant protection technologies. And to mention few, when he was in ATIC, there were 3 patents filed, particularly for plant protection technologies, and he was instrumental in popularizing bioagents like Paslomyces, VAM, Trichoderma, Pachoni, and others botanicals from IHR like neem soap, Pongamia soaps. He is also involved along with Dr. Varghese in the development of fruit fly traps in mango, guava, custard apple, and he is involved in the development of Arca borer formulation. Many of you may be knowing this Arca borer formulation. It is popularized as sealer cum healer. Now it's like insect name changes. This sealer cum healer, now it is mainly known as Arca borer control formulation, ABC formulation, which you will be learning from him. Currently, there are 16 licenses for fruit fly trap and 4 licenses for this ABC, that is erstwhile sealer cum healer. With this brief introduction, I request today's 128th talk speaker, Dr. Shivananda, to take over and go ahead with his presentation. Over to Dr. Shivananda.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Sridhar. My dear colleagues, I would like to welcome you all for this my lecture. I am now privileged for having been invited for me to give the lecture in the series of APME, and I thank the organizers for inviting me for giving this particular slot to share my experiences. Probably all of you know that I will be superannuating by this 31st of August 2021. And one small correction in what Dr. Sridhar told me. In 1984 November, I joined as a technician and not the ARS service. So on 20th November 1984, I joined as technician T23, and in 1985 I wrote ARS exam, and in 86 I joined back this ARS service as scientist on 22nd February 1986. From then onwards, this saga of scientist continues. So totally altogether in ICR, I will be having 36 years, 9 months and 11 days of service. With this small introduction, I would like to move on to the topic without losing time. Friends, this is my pet topic, that ATIC experience is the golden era of my service in the whole of my service, because this is the time where I toiled with farmers, I learned with farmers, I grew with farmers, and I developed myself as a good scientist to serve them in total. Rather than if I would have been in the soil science division, probably I would not have done anything and contributed anything to the science. So this is where I loved, and when Dr. Sridhar told me to speak on my experiences, I love this topic, and I am with you this morning for sharing my experiences. So probably this is the institution which has taken care of me. Probably till my death, it will take care, and even my family will be dependent on this. So I love to share this photo and take it as my memoirs in my life. So this I only taken in 1989, wherein the plants were still small, and this is where I live in. So probably all of you may be knowing. Before going to the core subject, I would like to tell you one thing about ATIC. What is ATIC? See, ATIC is the actually feeler of the institution, wherein all the divisions are represented in ATIC, and it is called single window system of all the technological products to sell, either nursery or seed or our innovative products. So that is how I call it as a mini institution. ATIC means mini institution. Any visitor visiting the ATIC will get the feel of everything what is happening in the institution by visiting ATIC. With this vision only, the ICR introduced ATIC in 2000, and ours was the first in the series to open. Dr. Balakrishna B. Balakrishna was the first in charge ATIC officer for this ATIC, and he really took this institution very well for 5 years. Probably I joined this ATIC in 2005. So in ATIC, what we were selling? See, we were selling fruit fly traps for mango, guava, custard apple, for managing the fruit fly traps. Then, since there was no commercialized technology for Bactrocerab dorsalis, I mean cucurbitae, we were also doing this cucurbit traps for bitter gourds and as well gherkins, and we were selling it for price in ATIC. Many people used to use it, and they were giving very good opinion about the cucurbit traps also. Then later on, we introduced sealer cum healer. Probably today I have to uh, tell my thanks to Dr. Abraham Varghese sir, because he is my mentor, and without him, probably would not have I would not have progressed an inch in this particular aspects. It is at that time he told me, Shivanand, back to this. I'm sorry. This stem borer is going to be a very serious issue in another days to come, few years to come. So at that time when we surveyed, it was only 2%, and probably now Dr. Reddy tells me in 2020 it is already around 20% damage is there with this stem borer. So 2% has reached 20% in 10 years. Probably you can think of in what progressive means it is progressing. Uh, we have developed a technology for it. Now, in addition to that, we were also selling neem soap, Pangame soap, where P.N. Krishnamurti had developed, and even till today they are the uh, beauty, I mean, most sought after technologies by farmers in ATIC. In addition to that, bioagents invented by Dr. M.S. Rao, that is VAM, Poconia, Trichoderma, Paecilomyces, Pseudomonas, everything was sold. So this is again where I have put my input in these bioagents also. See, why ATIC is very important. Probably you may be knowing that ATIC is the one thing which popularizes the technology, which inventor cannot do it. See, inventor is one. Farmers are millions. How do you expect one inventor to reach millions of people? By any means, it is not possible. It is ATIC which the institution can take up his innovations forward, a breakthrough. We can give a breakthrough for his innovations. So that is how I say ATIC is the most important thing. So now coming back to the subject, what did we do with fruit fly trap? So you can see the two images. Before 2009, it was only a Bisleri thrown out bottle picked up from rag pickers. We used to bring it back to ATIC and then uh, fill up with this lure and then give it to farmers at the rate of just 10 rupees a trap. We were selling it, but there were not many takers from IHR. But the technology was excellent. When I joined in 2005, Dr. Varghese sir came to me, and I also discussed with him, and he told, "Can you make it upscale the technology?" I said, "Sir, why not? Such a beautiful and wonderful technology. Why not? We can do it. But you have to collaborate with me, and we have to make little modification." Then he immediately agreed. whatever you want to do, you do it. He gave 100% free hand for me to handle the technology. So what we did is, see, for earlier, for impregnation of this lure, we used to take more than 24 hours and up to 48 hours for impregnating the pheromone into the wood piece. But with our invention, which of course Dr. Varghese sir only gave me the idea, with that we take now 48 seconds. To remind you, 48 hours became 48 seconds for impregnation of this pheromone, and that to uniform distribution. And you take sample from any piece of the wood, it will have equal amount of pheromone distributed. So this is one breakthrough which we made. The second breakthrough was the appearance of the bottle. We made a new bottle with IIHR and ICR emblem, and you can see on the right hand side. And these two changes what we made brought in laurels to our institution. And without patenting, I said we will not market it also. Immediately we patented through NRDC. At the earlier time, we were having NRDC, and we patented it, and then we started commercializing. And probably you might be wondering, today we have 16 licensees who are doing business with this fruit fly trap. And to remind you again, no duplication in the market. You can be certain that no duplication, because it has been patented and people are aware that it is a legal crime to duplicate. For this reason only we patented. So we are happy that today we are serving the mango farmers community. So this is what in brief I would like to tell you. Before 2009, it was only 1% of mango farmers who were using this, and now more than 50% of mango farmers are using this particular fruit fly trap. This is the figure given by the Department of Horticulture themselves. So if you think that Karnataka is growing about 115,000 hectares of mango, if we say take it as 50%, nearly 60,000 hectares has been covered by this fruit fly trap in Karnataka. And in Andhra and Tamil Nadu, many people are our own licenses are giving. And even if I take 10% of the area is covered in AP and Tamil Nadu, we can say 34,000 hectares has been covered in AP and 11,000 hectares in Tamil Nadu. So we can say 105,000 hectares in southern India itself, it has been covered, and it has made lot of impact. So what we tell is, see, if you spend around 500 rupees, you get back 20,000 rupees extra income, because we control nearly 25%, which is the minimum damage I am telling. Even if you take 25% is the damage, if you can control the 25% damage, you get nearly 10,000 rupees extra income from this particular technology. So people were impressed, and we did it. So one of the most important thing that I have told is PPP mode, private partnership, public-private partnership mode. So we issued the licenses, and today, you know, Barrix, he is a multi-millionaire. It's a multi-millionaire startup, and now it has become grown as a very, very big industry in Pina, and they are supplying even for the overseas people also. So he is one of the first batch of licensees trained by us. And again, you know Rainbow, he sells more than 10 lakh traps per annum. Of course, not on paper, he tells us. Similarly, Pheromone Solutions, 10 lakh traps per annum they are selling. It is in AP, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. And IHR, we ourselves are selling more than 10 lakh rupees worth traps per annum. So I told you, why ATIC? Why not inventors can do it? I told you inventors cannot do it because in ATIC we keep receiving public, students, farmers, passers-by, locals, KVK staff, everyone, teachers, policymakers. So here we can make real dent in convincing the people who are coming to us, and in fact uneducated youths who are looking for some entrepreneurial training. So for them we have been giving, and this is how I could make a difference in ATIC, being the ATIC in charge in commercializing and then licensing the technologies. So it is here ATIC which plays a very, very important role. Not only this, even neem soap, Pongeme soap, so many people have taken. I have not listed this because I am not involved directly in those technologies, so I have not listed them. So what's the role of IIHR? See, by popularizing through awareness campaigns. See, one thing, an inventor can develop a technology and keep it with him only. Popularizing is not that easy. See, in fact, if a good variety is released, probably from mouth to mouth, it will go and it will get popularized, but not a technology. See, for example, you have developed some technology in irrigation. How the people will know about it? Awareness only is the main thing. Maybe fertigation. People will not adopt unless they are clear, for which you need to conduct demonstrations. See, conducting demonstrations only our extension division or ATIC only can conduct, and not the inventor by himself alone. Uh, so that is the reason. And another reason is, you demonstrate, you do it, and feedback from farmers is the most important. What are the lacunae? Again, we come back to the inventor, we give the feedback, and then go back to the farm again, we test again, and then if it is successful, then only comes our role. Collaboration with line department for trials, and then seek finance from them to popularize the technology in a very large scale. So these are all the uh, steps involved in popularizing a technology which is very difficult, and unless ATIC or extension division is involved, we cannot do it. So actually, we have taken a survey, and this is a very important thing I thought I should share with you. Farmers do come. I have I had a everyday breakup analysis of farmers visiting. On an average, 100 people visit ATIC, which is not at all a small thing. 100 people, including farmers, students, policymakers, and everyone. So here, the farmers who are really visiting ATIC, 60% of the farmers, they want only about the remedies for plant protection. ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಹುಳ ಬಿದ್ದಿದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ ರೋಗ ಬಂದಿದೆ, ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? 60% of the farmers want about the information on plant protection only. 20% people need, ನನಗೆ ಹೊಸ ವೆರೈಟಿ ಬೇಕು, I need seeds, I need planting material. That is only 20%. Around 5% farmers come, new orchard planning. I want to grow an orchard, what should be done? Planning. Around 5 people, 5%. Around 10% people come with the deficiency symptoms and corrections. From soil science, representing the soil science, we used to interact, and remaining 5% for general problems. So this information is very important, that to highlight that plant protection is very important, and we need to attend this particular issue. So as I have already told, creating awareness is a very difficult thing, which we do it. After that, I told you, we sought collaboration from NABARD. They gave us around 30 lakhs. Department of Horticulture, they gave around 1.5 crores, 150 lakhs. KVKs, we have taken the collaboration to give the demos. Department of Agriculture, from Atma, we got around 20 lakhs. And then DBT, they gave 30 lakhs. So like this, we try to get money to conduct large scale demonstrations across the country. Leave it only Karnataka. DBT gave money to conduct across the country, and we did it in many mango growing belts of UP, Karnataka, Bihar, Odisha, and Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and Karnataka. So then this PPP was very handy to supply the material to all these people in short time. So this is what I would like to show a few photographs where myself and Dr. Varghese sir were involved. And at CATH Lucknow, we gave the demonstration. This at Chittoor, Andhra Pradesh, and many KVKs took the licenses from us. And I told you, even bee cucurbitae is a very serious problem, and we conducted a demonstration in Gopalapura near IIHR. It was a very successful venture, and from there onwards, we, of course, by then only we were supplying the traps in ATIC, and then onwards, it took a very big leap in distributing the technologies. In addition to that, we also developed a very interesting information I would like to give you, coffee stem borer, which was not at all with us, and with the intervention of Dr. DDG HP Singh, he insisted Dr. Varghese sir to take up some initiative in managing the coffee stem borer also, and we took it up, and the technology has been commercialized through NBAIR, and today the technology is licensed to 4 or 5 people in NBAIR, and we are doing very well, and it is again 100% organic. When there was no other technology giving 100% efficacy, and we proved it, taking 21 trials in Coorg, Hassan and Chikmagalur, and all the trials were successful, and we have given the report to department, and they agreed for patenting, and we have a patent in NBIR itself. So this is again another interesting story of jackfruit. In Hassan, we used our sealer cum healer, and it was 100% successful, and it was tried in more than maybe 1,000 trees in Hassan district. So where our own agriculture graduate Mohan, of course, our classmate of Dr. Varghese sir, and they gave us all the facilities, and it has been proved well beyond doubt that it can control, and it gave the control, and it in fact healed the damage done by the borer also. Of course, this is another photo where we can see the fruit fly demonstration in Hassan, wherein very frequently used to visit, and even though we have good rapport, and they are buying the traps from our entrepreneur licensee. Of course, as you know, ICR, I mean IHR is a very well-known national institution. It invites a lot of people, very high level VIPs. So this ICR board member who visited our ATIC, even Professor U.R. Rao also has visited, and our IGP Arkesh, Mr. Arkesh, friend of Dr. Abraham Varghese sir, also visited, and they were interested. And even today he buys from ATIC many of the products, even till today. Although he's retired, his land is in near Ramanagar, and he comes and buys the products. So this is again a demonstration at IHR itself in our high density orchard block, wherein Dr. Varghese sir has demonstrated the sealer cum healer technology in our own IHR. So this, of course, I don't have to need to explain much. DG visit, and even he was very much interested in all our products, especially organic, and that too with neem soap, Pongamia soap, our herbal repels, and our fruit fly traps. Everything was given, and he had lot of appraise for laudable research was done, and he always tell good things about our technologies. So ultimately, it culminated in receiving a very highest award, that is Biotech Innovation Award in 2005. Actually, this award is given by the President of India, and particularly on that day, May 5th, he was on tour to Russia. So this award was given by Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, Mr. Harshavardhan, and we received it. This was a 2 lakh rupees cash award given to our group, which we bagged in 2015, but given in 2016. So like this, I can keep on talking, but now the time is up. I would like to thank each one of you who have listened to me with patience. I thank one and all for the attention you have given to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving an excellent view as role of ETIC in popularizing the technologies, and your own role along with Dr. Varghese, how these technologies can be taken forward through several demonstrations. These are the living examples. With this, we profusely thank you for accepting our invitation in a short notice and sharing your views. If one or two views, if somebody wants to have any clarifications, you can have just for 5 minutes, because we are having another talk, and that I wish to share that here afternoon we are having on a demonstration that PVR and one private company, they here on drones, use of drones for crop protection. There is going to be a demo after these talks. That's why we'll target this, both talks will be over by 12:15, so that we can have sufficient time to join other one. With this, if somebody wants to express your views regarding the use from Dr. Shivananda, you are welcome to speak.
No, I would like to invite Dr. Varghese sir. If
Dr.
anything
Varghese,
is
sir.
left out, I would like to make it up with
Is
his
there none?
remarks. He's not there. Huh? Okay.
Dr. Varghese,
Yeah.
sir,
Yeah.
is there?
It's okay. Yeah. You can continue.
Oh, okay. Anybody else? Regarding this talk, anybody would like to share your thoughts? Some are through chat they are expressing. This is like praising about the talk. There are no specific questions. I think if you are available after Madam's talk also you can take up some
Okay,
questions.
okay.
With this now, let us move on to the next talk number 129. I invite Dr. Meera Pandey.
Very gorgeous, no?
This is already
It's not
loaded.
for IIT channel. Then, the replay, we have to select here.
Just a minute.
One, two.
Here, before proceeding for the talk, as I told in the beginning, this Dr. Meera Pandey also will be retiring this superannuating this month, along with Dr. Shivananda. Coming to the introduction about the speaker, today's speaker, for those who joined first time in this series of lectures, Dr. Meera Pandey, she is well known for this mushroom cultivation and extension technologies related to that. Presently serving as a principal scientist at Mushroom Research Laboratory at ICR IHR Bengaluru. She is well versed in her more than 3 decades service in conducting research on spawn production, mushroom production, improvement, processing, value addition and mechanization of mushroom crop. To her credit, country's first low spored mutant of Pleurotus Sajor Kaju was developed by her, and she is instrumental in establishment of 26 energy efficient mechanized spawn production labs in the country. She has also developed strategies to utilize mushroom technology to empower women through ready to fruit bag technology, that is in short known as RTF. She has developed technologies like iron fortified mushrooms to help the mitigation of iron malnutrition. She is also in the also developed calcium and vitamin D rich mushrooms for better health and nutrition. Recently, she has released technology also. And one more thing I want to re-emphasize is regarding the training. She has not only concerned with this only conducting research, she has trained more than 2,000 state government officers to help them establish mushroom units in various state government departments. And she has trained more than 3,000 women and more than 1,000 entrepreneurs. Here I would like to stress more than 1,000 entrepreneurs in mushroom technology. And she has more than 200 publications, different publications like research papers, book chapters, etc. And also guided many PhD and MSc students. Here I would like to thank from my side as a nodal officer when I have requested this month during second week, she has trained 200 KVKs. In India, we have 700 plus KVKs. For in this particular training, she has specifically trained the KVKs, 200 KVKs. I would like to stress again. For 3 days training, she gave how to produce spawn production, not just ready to fruit bags. And she trained 200 KVKs. That is and she also gave a roadmap how these KVKs can take up this mushroom technologies to rural level and empower the rural youth also. With this small introduction, now I request Dr. Meera Pandey to go ahead with her presentation on entrepreneurial potential of mushroom technology. Thank you, madam. Over to Dr. Meera.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sridhar.
Yeah.
And very good morning to everyone. And I hope I'm audible and I think the slides are visible. And today I'll be sharing some information regarding the entrepreneurial potential of mushroom technology. With COVID, of course, the people have started becoming more and more entrepreneurs, especially in agricultural fields. So we find a lot of startups coming up almost in all areas of agriculture. Mushroom is one such area where there's enough to become an entrepreneur. And what are those aspects we'll be just sharing. And before I come to the actual topic, a little bit of introduction about mushrooms for those people who may not be knowing much about mushrooms. Mushrooms are part of fungal kingdom, and fungi is a very, very large group. And I think now it has got its own kingdom now because of its huge population, what it has. And nature has given us around 2,000 species of mushrooms, which are prime edible mushrooms, and 30 are the ones which are consumed. And out of this, about a dozen are there where the production technology is available, and others are still not cultivated. When it comes to global mushroom trade, about 59% of the global mushroom trade belongs to edible mushrooms, amounting to about $30 billion. The medicinal mushroom sector has 31%, around $16 billion, and collection and sale of wild mushrooms from the forest areas is still a very important economic activities in many countries, contributing to 10% of the volume, worth $5 billion. When it comes to global production, China is number one, contributing about 87% of the world production, followed by other.
Meera, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Is it okay now?
Yes, Meera.
Yes,
Now we
ma'am.
can hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you. When we look at the global species which are being consumed, in 1960, the scenario was that about 78% of the mushrooms which were consumed were of white button mushroom, that is agaricus, followed by shiitake mushroom, which was 15%, lentinula, and there were other varieties about 7%. So practically only 2 species were being consumed in 1960. In 1990, the scenario changed, and agaricus became 38%, followed by shiitake or lentinula, which became 10%. Pleurotus species came into the scene, 24%, and followed by another new entrant, wood ear mushroom or auricularia, 11%, enoki or flammulina, 4%, volveralia or padistro mushroom, 5%, and there were many other varieties grown on a smaller scale, which constituted 8%. In 2013, the scenario further changed, and the button mushroom slided down to 15%. It became at fourth position, and world's number one became the shiitake mushroom with 22% consumption. And oyster became at number 3 with 19%, followed by wood ear mushroom or auricularia, 18%, followed by button mushroom, 15%. And then, of course, there were other varieties. And the scenario in 2018-19 is that almost button mushroom has slided down to 11%. Near 11% of the global production is now of button mushrooms. And we have now host of new varieties. Shiitake mushroom is number 1 at 26%. Then we have king oyster variety, which has come, which is 5%. And now, of course, IHR is also given the technology, and this variety is now available in Bangalore market as well. And we have flammulina, and then auricularia and Pleurotus austriatus constituting about 16%, and auricularia about 21%. Auricularia is one variety which is very, very popular in the Northeast, in northeastern part of our country. In all the 7 states, they still prefer to eat auricularia. When we look at the potential of mushrooms in recycling of agro residues, The country produces almost 98 million tons of surplus agro residues, which are burnt every year. This is after using it for different purposes. This is the amount, this is the tonnage which is burnt every year, and mostly from 4 to 5 crops. Now, even if 10% of this residue which is burnt on an yearly basis, even if 10% of that residue is taken up for mushroom cultivation, India can produce almost 10 million tons of mushrooms. It can produce about 5 million tons of mushrooms. And the protein produced would be so much that at least 56 lakh people will be able to get their protein requirement from that protein, which is produced from 5 million tons of mushrooms. The employment generated will be around 2 million people will be able to get employment, all year round employment. It will not be a seasonal employment, it's an year round employment. And non-cultivable land will be used. We don't need any fertile land for mushroom growing. And after the mushroom growing is done, the substrate which comes out, which is called a spent mushroom substrate, that is a very good organic compost, and we give back to the soil about almost 6 million tons of that back to the soil as organic carbon added to the soil. So it's a total almost a zero waste crop, in the sense that it utilizes the waste and gives back. In between, it gives you proteinaceous vegetable and then gives back organic carbon to the soil. This is in nutshell the health benefits of mushrooms. Mushrooms are a very good source of protein, no doubt about it, far superior than any of the vegetables or fruits or cereals. And we have got a very new variety which we are about to release from Northeast, which has got protein content of 40%, which is much higher than even soybean. So they are a very good source of protein, not only quantitatively, but also qualitatively, because they have all 20 amino acids. And they are especially very rich source of vitamin B, very, very rich source of vitamin D, the only vegetarian source of vitamin D, in fact. And the IHR is very soon will be releasing the methodology for enhancing the vitamin D content of mushrooms. So they are a very good source of vitamin D. Then they are very good source of minerals, very low on sodium, high on potassium. And this high potassium to low sodium is a wonderful thing for cardiac health. So that's why it is generally, because of its zero cholesterol nature, very, very low fat, almost nil fat, zero cholesterol, and high potassium to sodium ratio makes it a good candidate for cardiac health. It has absolutely almost no sugar, and high on fiber, very low on carbohydrates. The glycemic index is somewhere less than 3, and therefore it becomes a very important product for type 2 diabetes. It's a recommended food for type 2 diabetes. Apart from this, it is a good source of selenium, quite high source of selenium. Chinese call, especially the oyster mushrooms, Chinese call them as blood builders, because they are quite good on iron. And not only good on iron, the bioavailability of iron from mushrooms is very high. The bioavailability of iron from normal mushroom is 17%, as against 5% from any plant source, and as against 20 to 25% from the non-vegetarian food, which is regarded as the best food for bioavailable iron. So mushrooms, the non-fortified mushrooms, the normal mushroom, oyster mushrooms will the bioavailability is about 17%, and we have got something called as iron fortified mushroom. And from the iron fortified mushroom, the bioavailability is 21%. So that is what it makes a lot of difference. And they are, of course, very, very low on carbohydrates, as I told you, and they have a lot of polysaccharides. And they are quite good on zinc. And that makes them a very good food for immune system. Mushrooms are generally regarded as immune boosters. So they are able to boost the immune system because of the presence of polysaccharides and zinc. And of course, They are a good food because of the low sodium content. They are recommended for blood pressure patients, and also for because of the low carbohydrate, people who want to reduce weight. So it is recommended for such people also. Just a few words about how best we can harness this nutrition of mushrooms. In what best way we should be able to cook so that we get the best nutrition of the mushrooms available to us. Uh, as I mentioned, that mushrooms are the only vegetarian source of vitamin D, very quite high on vitamin D. So whenever we are using mushrooms for vitamin D, the mushrooms, because it's a fat soluble vitamin, therefore it has to be sorted in butter or in ghee, and then it has to be taken. That is how you will be able to get the best, I mean the maximum vitamin D out of mushroom into your food. Mushrooms do not have vitamin A, and therefore you can have a combination of things like carrot and mushrooms, and make it make your food in such a way that you get maximum of vitamin A and vitamin D. Similarly, you can mix mushrooms with avocados, which have got natural fat, and harness the vitamin D potential of the mushrooms. Similarly, mushrooms, when you have to harness the vitamin B potential of the mushrooms, you must take it in the soup form. Being water soluble vitamins, this can be taken in the soup form, and it can be combined with many other vegetables. Generally, mushrooms do not have vitamin C. They have no vitamin A, I told you. They do not have vitamin K. So therefore, when you make this right combination of vegetables, say capsicum and mushrooms, or broccoli and mushrooms, and broccoli, carrot, and you are making a nutritive package which is giving you almost all vitamins. So this is how the maximum harnessing of nutrition potential harnessing of mushrooms can be done. You can, as I told you, with mustard green, you can have a vitamin E combo. Having mushrooms with mustard green, or having mushrooms with capsicum, makes it a very good, B and C combination. And if you have it with sweet potato, it has got a lot of vitamin A. So you have vitamin A and vitamin D, both fat soluble vitamins available from that combination. Mushrooms, when they are combined with the specific vegetables, they can become great immune boosters. They themselves have high amount of selenium and zinc. And when they are combined with things like kale and mustard green, which have got good amount of vitamin K as well, so this becomes a good immune boosting combination for the human system. Not only for the vegetarians, mushrooms are not only good for the vegetarians, but it is equally good for the non-vegetarians. And because of very many reasons, it is being taken up by many of the governments to reduce the intake of non-vegetarian food. Not that it can be, a hardcore non-vegetarian becomes a vegetarian just, by saying that, but then a lot of policy decisions are being taken, perhaps because the production of non-vegetarian food is a big, it requires a lot of water. It's a big impact on environment. In fact, it's a big negative impact on environment. Looking at that, many policy decisions are being taken how to reduce the intake of non-vegetarian in the food. And one such step taken by Germany is that they do not serve non-vegetarian food in any of their government functions. So this is how at government level, things are being done so that the intake of non-vegetarian food can be reduced. And in USA, a very healthy trend has been developed. USA eats a lot of, the population thrives on burgers, and burger is nothing but beef sandwiched between two, say, bread pieces or bun pieces. So how to bring about this reduction of eating of beef? So our movement was rather, a recipe was first standardized by the Culinary Institute of America along with the Mushroom Council of USA, and they reduced the content of beef in that. So a combination was developed with 50% beef and 50% mushroom, because mushrooms have this unique property of blending with many more things. And they texturally they blend very well with meat. And this blended burger was then served, and it was then popularized. And today, not many school canteens, many college canteens, the corporate canteens, many hotels and restaurants have joined this movement of making what is called as blended burgers. In fact, they have started a movement called as the blend, because they want to reduce. So one food item has, you reduce it, you are reducing the non-vegetarian and non-veg intake by 50% almost. So that kind of an impact this can have. Now, coming to the actual entrepreneurial activities through mushrooms. Now, mushroom involves about four major, a mushroom enterprise will have four major areas: spawn or a seed production, mushroom cultivation, value addition, and marketing. Any mushroom enterprise, if it has got the necessary capital, can invest and become an enterprise having all the four constituents within it. End-to-end production can be done. There are the multinational companies which have their own spawn production. They do mushroom cultivation. They have their own value addition and processing, and then they market. So, people who have the necessary capital, they can always get into that. But apart from that, in fact, every single activity in these four processes has the capability of being a standalone enterprise in case of mushrooms. If you want, you can only become a spawn producer. You need not have anything else. Develop the facilities only for spawn producer and become only a spawn producer. You can only become a specialized substrate producer. Every mushroom requires a specialized substrate. So you can make a specialized substrate and become and have a standalone business only with that particular substrate. It could be button mushroom compost, it could be shiitake substrate, it could be oyster substrate, it could be anything, because the requirement is very huge. And a grower, any grower who has the necessary cropping rooms for growing would love to have ready-made substrate procured from somewhere. So that itself can become a standalone business. Then we also have given this concept of ready-to-fruit bags, especially in case of oyster mushrooms, where the seeded bags can be, seeded, and the grown bags, say 25 days old, colonized seeded bags, can be given to people who take these bags in their homes, and they just cut open and spray some water, and within 5 to 6 days, they get mushrooms out of it. And by this technology, lot of the consumption of mushroom is enhanced both in rural and in urban areas, because the only way of eating mushroom is either you should be able to procure it at that high price, or you are able to grow it. Then growing is is such an elaborate process that a person who wants to grow it just for his consumption would not get into that process. And therefore this technology can do wonders when it comes to enhancing the household nutrition and household consumption of mushrooms. And this RTF bag has to be produced. I mean, government institutions, IHR cannot be producing it forever. So therefore, a very big entrepreneurship can be developed through RTF bag production units. And we have been establishing such units also all over the country. Then mushrooms are highly perishable, and they need to be processed, especially dehydrated and packaged. So, especially when the mushrooms are grown by small and marginal farmers and in the rural areas, they have this problem of, not having the proper dehydration facilities and all that. So, if people can just develop and invest only in the dehydration facilities, they can bring the mushrooms from the rural areas, create a linkage and dehydrate or process the mushrooms and become entrepreneur in terms of processed mushroom selling. They can also, value addition is one more area where people can get into, mushroom value addition, whether making mushroom value added products or adding value to mushrooms itself. That also can be a standalone entrepreneurial activity which can be taken up. The culinary business with mushrooms, it's a total open business. In France, we have restaurants which are exclusively, which offer you only mushroom cuisine. And In fact, in France, they are specialized to such an extent that they offer you dishes made out of just about a single mushroom. They call it as truffles, which is highly priced. And they have exclusive restaurants which will give you only things made out of truffles. So in India, this is a total open area where people can get into culinary business with mushrooms and make a lot of novel products and can enter into this area also. It's a total open area in India. People can get into the marketing of mushrooms, exclusive wholesale marketing, or they can give a platform and link with the rural areas and get into marketing. And also, when the entire mushroom cultivation process is over, collecting that spent mushroom substrate from each farm or from number of farms and converting it into a quality vermicompost, that itself can be an entrepreneurial activity. So that also can be taken up as a standalone entrepreneurial activity, making a proper organic manure out of the SMS which is available after growing of mushrooms. So these are the aspects which can be taken up. When it comes to spawn production, of course, the total spawn production can be taken up. A person can, spawn production has got 4 stages: the pure culture production through tissue culture, the maintenance of that culture, production of mother spawn, mass multiplication of the mother spawn, and ultimately the cultivation spawn which goes to the farmer. So people who can invest, who have the necessary expertise and can invest in a mushroom spawn production laboratory, they can get into the entire system. Or even within this spawn production, we have a lot of postgraduates in pathology and microbiology coming out. In fact, those who have this subject matter expertise, they can get only into step 1, 2, and 3. That is, they can make the cultures and make the mother spawn, because the requirement of mother spawn is very high for the spawn industry. And many of the spawn makers, they are people who have no subjective knowledge of mycology or anything. In fact, many of them, they have even not studied biology. So the quality of the spawn becomes one major issue, because they do not know, they are not able to do the tissue cultures and they're not able to have quality mother spawn. So this is where our postgraduates can just have mother spawn production units and keep supplying the mother spawn to these spawn producers, who will then multiply and give it to the farmers, to the cultivation spawn producers. So within spawn production also, the activities can be such that you can have 2 standalone entrepreneurial activities. Then mushroom cultivation itself can be a very good entrepreneurial activity, and there are a host of mushrooms which can be cultivated. This is button mushroom, requiring around 16 to 18 degrees centigrade for cultivation. It is cultivated on a specific compost. Oyster mushrooms, very gregarious. We have all colors on all types of oyster mushrooms, and can be grown between anywhere temperature range of 12 to 28 degrees centigrade. A very, very gregarious species. And it can grow on a host of agricultural residues. So this mushroom can be grown. In the high temperature sector, we have the paddy straw mushroom, Orissa, where this mushroom is grown, largely. We have the milky mushroom, states of Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Andhra, Kerala, growing it on a commercial scale. Temperature range is 28 to 35 degrees centigrade. And then we have given the technology of shiitake mushroom, the world's #1 globally, and not only an excellent edible, but also a highly medicinal mushroom, and requiring a temperature of around 18 to 20 degrees, 16 to 20 degrees centigrade, grows on sawdust, and is a 3-month crop. So IHR has given the technology. The seeds are also available from IHR. Another very important mushroom is king oyster mushroom, which we have given the technology. Very, very tasty, very good mushroom, being sold at 2,000 rupees a kg in the Bangalore market. So now we have got 2 or 3 growers who are growing this variety. Then enoki. Enoki is very, very good for the low temperature areas where the temperature is almost 10 degrees or below 10 degrees. So we have this region of Leh and Ladakh and the upper Himalayas, where people can grow this variety under their ambient conditions. At least I think 6 months they'll be able to grow this variety. And the spawn is available at DMR Solan. So this can be taken up. And apart from this, we are also, we have given a number of other varieties. Hericium is one more variety which IHR has given, and now we are giving the spawn, an excellent edible and a very good medicinal variety. Very, very good medicinal species. The cultivation technology has been now standardized, it's been given, and the spawn is also being given from IIHR. The latest addition to the high temperature sector is Macrocybia gigantea, which we are releasing next month. Can be grown at 28 to 35 degrees centigrade, excellent to taste, soft. In fact, it will be almost like high temperature button mushroom. And this can be even processed into beautiful pickles also. And then with this collection which we have, this is again our indigenous, these are all our indigenous collections. And this is also our indigenous collection from Tripura, where this mushroom in the northeastern states is still collected and eaten from the forests. And we brought this species where it was sold in a local market in Agartala. And a tribal woman was selling this in the vegetable market, and we brought it, we cultured it, and then we have developed the production technology. And this mushroom has got 40% protein. Therefore, this can be a very, very important, mushroom for protein malnutrition. And in the Northeast, people are already eating it. So for them, it's a part of their diet. But in the other parts of country, maybe this will not be taken up in the fresh form because it is highly fibrous. And therefore, it's on dehydration, the powder can be used as protein powder. And we are trying to use that protein powder with milk to make a good health drink, a protein-rich health drink. Then apart from growing the mushroom totally, you can just take a part of the activity of growing and become a specialized entrepreneur, either only for making compost or only for making the specialized substrate, maybe for oysters, for shiitake, for milky, or whatever mushroom is being grown in your area. So becoming a specialized substrate producer also has the potential of becoming a total standalone entrepreneurship. Then marketing, packaging, and transporting and marketing it, especially when you have these mushrooms in the rural areas where people are not able to access good urban markets. Then a person can become an entrepreneur just by linking himself to those producing areas in the rural areas, and have proper packaging and marketing facilities so that they are able to link and market it in the urban areas. So this itself can be an entrepreneurial activity of linking the rural producing areas with the urban markets. Then apart from that, one can take up entrepreneurial activity by processing of mushrooms, either dehydration in different forms, the whole mushroom, the strips, as per the requirement of the industry. Pizza industry has a different requirement, soup industry has a different requirement, and powders. So all this can be taken up. It's not necessary that you grow mushrooms. You can always take the mushrooms from the producers and get into this entrepreneurial activity. Apart from this, we have also developed what is called as iron fortified mushroom, adding value to the mushroom itself. So this technology is also being licensed now. And from IIHR, the ITMU will license this technology for 25,000 rupees. This is a post-harvest process, and people can get into production of iron fortified mushrooms, production of calcium fortified mushrooms. Then also vitamin D enriched mushrooms. We are almost through with the process of standardizing the UV dosage, time, distance, so that mushrooms can be exposed. And merely 10-minute exposure of oyster mushrooms gives enough vitamin D, which is sufficient. Your daily RDA is taken care of. Your everyday RDA is taken care of by eating just about 70 grams of that exposed oyster mushroom. Then we are also trying to have the vitamin D enriched mushrooms with milk, so that we are able to develop a combination where the calcium, vitamin D, and protein come together. And these kind of products will have an immense entrepreneurial potential in the Indian market. Then apart from that, there are other value added products which are already which has been licensed from IHR, the mushroom rasam powder, and there are 7 varieties of mushroom chutney powders which have been made with different combinations of, say, flaxseed, sesame seed, groundnut, coconut, moringa leaf, and Brahmi also. The combinations have been made in such a way that, you know, people derive this nutrition by adding these things to their daily diet. You know, one of our objective was to bring mushrooms to the daily diet. So these products have been formulated, and production of these products itself can be an entrepreneurial activity. Then we have also recently released mushroom millet cookies. We have made mushroom with 5 different millets, that is sorghum, bajra, ragi, maize, and little millet. So even that can be taken as an entrepreneurial activity. And also, of course, mushroom pickle, which is which is already there in the market. It's another thing. Then we are also making mushroom herbal soup in combination with the Indian herbs. And of course, because of this high protein content, we are making a combination with, so these kind of value added products, these are a few which IHR is making. People can come out with their own novel products depending on the palatability and the regional requirement. And this market of value added mushroom products is totally open in the Indian context. Apart from this, a lot of other things like mushroom puffs and breads and noodles and momos and all these things can be taken up. People with artistic bent of mind also have something, mushrooms have something to offer them in terms of these non-edible, non-toxic wild mushrooms which maintain their shape, their color. And this also can be taken up as making souvenirs of mushrooms, and helping the mushroom industry in making the mushroom highly visible among the population. Then of course, after the mushroom cultivation is done, the spent mushroom substrate becomes a very, very good quality vermicompost. So that can also be made, and that itself can become an entrepreneurial activity, because huge amounts of spent mushroom substrate or the compost comes out from the mushroom farms. So that also can be a very, very important entrepreneurial activity, either as such, or it can be made even crop specific by adding some more micronutrients or whatever. Because this compost generally becomes quite rich in micronutrients, because mushrooms are a good source of micronutrients. Mushrooms can be a very important aspect of social enterprise, profit-making social enterprise, because of its multidimensional nature, whether it is environment or residue management, whether it is nutrition, rural employment, women empowerment, inclusive technology for the special people. Mushroom has it all, and in any sector it can be taken up as a profit-making social enterprise. When it comes to agro residue management or the environmental management due to problems of agro residues, this itself can become a very important startup. Because so much of agro residues are there, and a lot of it has to be collected. In fact, collection, a systematic collection of the surplus crop residues from the villages, bringing it, say, to a taluk level or panchayat level, having warehouses for minimally processing those agro residues and storing it over there, this itself can be an entrepreneurial activity, because there's a huge requirement of the agro residues, properly processed agro residues, not only by the mushroom based industry, but also by many other industries which are requiring agro residues like biofuel production or compost production or bioenergy production. So a systematic collection, procurement and storage and size reduction of agro residues from the villages can be a very important entrepreneurial activity. And once it is stored, it can be given to the to those entrepreneurs who are engaged in RTF backed production units. So they need not hunt for substrate. At the click of a mouse, they get their required substrate. It can be given to the people who are engaged in large scale mushroom production. It can be given to the industries which are based on agro residues, and it will create additional employment by collection of the spent mushroom substrate, either from the RTF units or from the commercial growers. And that spent mushroom substrate, especially of the oyster mushrooms, which are grown organically, can become a very good animal feed. So that recycling also can happen. When once it is systematically done, it can get into animal feed. Or if it is not getting into the animal feed, it can become, once again, it can get into the biofuel or compost production industry. So this is how the whole cycling can happen, and a startup can be built up on on efficient and proper and a systematic management of the agro residues. And mushroom is also a very good technology, inclusive technology in the social sector, a profit-making inclusive technology for the mentally challenged and for the physically challenged people as well. So those organizations who are involved with the special people, they can think of taking up mushrooms as a venture for their enterprise. And the RTF back production unit, especially for empowering women in the rural areas. The ready to fruit bag production technology is a very, very efficient technology, because very large amounts of RTF bags will be required to cater to the needs of the urban areas. And those bags can be easily produced in the rural areas by women. So this can become a very profit-making social enterprise where the women can produce the RTF bags in the rural areas, and it can be given to the urban homes or for growing mushrooms. So this is another important area of entrepreneurship. Then, as I have mentioned earlier also, the culinary business through mushrooms is a huge market. And the example what I always give is this: Huba Foods in UK. They started their culinary business with one single item. In UK, button mushrooms is grown a lot, and a portion of the stock of the button mushroom is thrown away, because only a certain length of the stock is along with the cap is sold. The rest of the stock is thrown away. And this Huba Food, it started its business with the thrown away button mushroom stocks, and it made a product. The product was hit in the market, and more demand for the product was there. It was just one product which they were making, and there was such a huge demand for that product that they wanted to have more mushrooms, and they were not getting mushrooms. So what they did was they trained the prisoners in the prison, and the prisoners started growing the oyster mushrooms, and the company started buying the oyster mushrooms from them and created a social enterprise around this culinary business, which was a win-win situation for everyone. So culinary business can have a tremendous opening in the Indian market. Also, there is a very new venture in culinary business which is coming out, which is a very, it's a medico culinary business, which is making dishes specific to the disease. There are specific cakes meant for cancer patients which have got shiitake mushroom in that. People can make specific culinary items specifically for diabetes. They can have mushrooms, they can have many other combinations, say millets, or make more combinations which with very low glycemic index foods, make a combination, and have an opening in the hospitals. In the the dietitians can be taken help of making this into a new venture. It's a totally new area which can be taken up using mushrooms. And mushrooms can get into weight reduction meals, they can get into diabetic meals, they can get into cardiac health meals, they can get into cancer related health meals. So they can be part of a number of specific disease based culinary items. And mushrooms, if they are made a part of Manrega, where generally women are given this kind of work, I think it can make a lot of difference to the women empowerment. If mushrooms can become a part of Manrega, and if women start growing mushrooms at village level, and if that mushroom finds a market in the urban areas through linkages, that can be a very, very good opening and a better working environment for women. They have their children besides them, they need not leave their villages. And once they start growing, it will automatically become a part of their diet. So something good goes into their diet also. The village school can also get some amount of mushroom from there. And therefore, this can be a very important inclusion in Manrega programs if it can be done. Apart from the actual mushroom growing, the mushroom industry requires a host of other things. The ancillary industry, which is needed, where people can become entrepreneurs. The spawn industry requires, these are autoclavable PP rings. Now, it is a big problem for the spawn producers to get this PP rings as of now. They have to really hunt for it. So if people can get into production of these PP rings, autoclavable PP rings, this itself can be an entrepreneurial activity. There are so many spawn producers in this country. There are so many laboratories producing spawn. All of them require this. So producing these PP collars or PP necks or PVC necks, this itself can be a huge requirement is there, and it's a daily requirement. So this can itself be a very important ancillary industry. Making these specific bags, autoclavable bags for the spawn industry. Generally in the spawn industry, we have to use these necks and we have to use these cotton plugs, and then because everything has to be done under aseptic conditions, and a lot of labor goes into it. If these bags, if these kind of pouch bags, spout bags, they're also called as spout bags with an autoclavable filter and a screw cap, if this can be manufactured, this can be a game changer for spawn industry, because a lot of labor and time can be saved, and every spawn producer needs this. So manufacturing this and making available to the mushroom industry, in the Indian mushroom industry, will be a very important ancillary entrepreneurial activity which can be done. IIHR has got a number of machinery, spawn machinery, and the license of those spawn machineries can be taken, and people, especially the people from the engineering background or the students coming out from the engineering colleges, they can take the license, get into the manufacturing of these machinery which are required specifically for spawn production. So these are all spawn production machinery which can be done. These are specific structures which has been designed by IIHR, especially for the rural areas, with and of course both with and without the solar panels. And we need people who can manufacture these net houses for mushroom growing, because a lot of even people in a lot of urban areas also who want to grow it on the small scale for their own consumption require these kind of structures. In the rural areas, people who have space constraint, they do not have space to grow, they would want to keep this chamber outside their homes and grow mushrooms in that. So the taking the license and start making these kind of structures itself can become an entrepreneurial activity. Making of these semi-permanent structures for mushroom growing, this itself can become, people can specialize in these kind of making of mushroom houses, and that itself can be an entrepreneurial activity. Making these structures for terrace garden, where people are, more and more people, urban people are now want to take up mushrooms along with other vegetables as terrace garden activity. So they need a structure, because mushrooms cannot be grown in just in open. So again, manufacturing these kind of structures can become an entrepreneurial activity. Also, IHR has developed a very novel system of marketing of mushrooms. This is a solar powered tricycle in which the bags can be directly taken to the consumer. The fruiting bags can be directly taken to the consumer. Till now, people have been buying packaged mushrooms. In this system, the consumer will have the choice of harvesting the mushroom straight from the bag and taking it. So this can be again a very novel way of marketing mushrooms, and therefore this tricycle becomes useful. So people who can take the license of this and start manufacturing this, that also can be an entrepreneurial activity. Apart from this, there are some very novel ideas which are still kind of taking shape, where people can think of taking up and becoming entrepreneurs. Is spent mushroom substrate as animal feed for the ruminants. A lot of work has been done even in India, in PAU Ludhiana. So if the spent mushroom substrate, especially the one which comes from the oyster mushroom sector, that can be taken and processed for animal feed as an additive for animal feed. I have just given the references, people can go and read that. People have tried even for making feed for the broilers out of the spent mushroom substrate. Feed for insects have been made from these spent mushroom substrate. So these are the areas where people can, novel entrepreneurship areas where people can think. Mycelium based packaging. USA, of course, has got a company which is totally commercial, and they are into this business since 2012. But in India, it is still at infancy and researchable issue. In fact, these are the packaging made out of mushroom mycelium. Mushroom is grown on agricultural residues, And this is a very, very good packaging material, very light, very sturdy. And Dell is using these packaging materials for transporting their computer parts, especially when the freight is air freight, where you pay by weight. So this becomes a very, very good material packaging, and a lot of work is going on. And in India also, many entrepreneurs have come to IHR and are taking up this. Vegan leather, the latest from mushroom is vegan leather. Until now, small pieces of mushroom leather were being made in Indonesia, in USA, in Finland. They were small pieces. And that was the biggest hiccup, making small pieces of vegan leather. Mushroom mycelium, basically grown in bioreactors, and they have their own patented technology for forming leather. Again, a very new area, very novel area, if people can, venture out into this, but a researchable area in India as yet. But now the VTT Technical Institute in Finland has come out with this continuous production of rolls of vegan leather from mushrooms. This is the mushroom leather. So even the industrial hitch which was there has been sorted out by this Finland's company, and now they are able to produce the mushroom leather in rolls. So that can also be taken up. And these are some of the services which are offered by IIHR. People who are interested, we give entrepreneurial training, we give spawn. It's all there on our website also. Technical guidance to establish spawn production labs are given. We have already established 26 labs all over the country. We also give, technical guidance for ready to fruit bag production, especially, a very good venture for the rural areas. Then licensing for mushroom value-added products and for mushroom spawn machinery. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, madam, for your excellent coverage and nice presentation regarding starting from spawn production to marketing. And I'm sure that many of you who are first time listening to mushrooms, they got the complete idea of what is happening world over, and what can be done at the village level also, how KVKs can play an important role, what has been dealt by you. We thank profusely for accepting the invitation. I know you are this life member of APME. Still this month I could see this is your hat-trick talk. There was a lot of demand from you for giving talks in different fora. Day before yesterday and today also on different aspects you are talking, for which from association side I profusely thank you for your nice presentation. Now I invite the audience to express your views, any clarifications, please. And you can start with Dr. Chandis, madam.
Yeah, I'm seeing Dr. Chandish there. Yes.
Yeah, please unmute, madam, and just please.
That was a wonderful presentation, Meera.
Thank you so much.
I'm listening to you for the first time. Very impressive. I just wanted to ask you, for the rural women, do you go there and try to train them, or is it that they are already aware of the technology? Are they coming forward, and is there some extension agency which is kind of trying to create awareness and bringing them over to IHR? Any KVKs or any extension agencies?
Dr. Chandish, it is both ways. Most of the time we are associated with the NGOs who are, and the SHE groups who are involved in this. So they either they get it, they bring their women over here and they train, but we also have trained individual women through many DBT and DSIR projects what we had. So there also we went and trained. So we have generally a combination. First 2 days they are brought to the lab, because when we were dealing with the rural women, one problem was, many of them, they don't eat mushrooms. People have their own myths about mushrooms. So when they would, when we tried to go to the village, this problem we faced, that many of them, they would not be interested because they don't eat mushrooms. For them, mushroom has got so many other things. So we thought, okay, we started bringing them to visit the lab. So we made it a 2 days program. The first day they come and they just visit the lab. They are shown the entire thing, the growing process. When they enter the mushroom lab, they will all enter with, covering their nose and everything, because they have all set ideas about mushrooms. And then they're taken around. They're just taken around and they are shown, how things are grown, how it is pasteurized, sterilized. And then they are brought also to the seed production area. and they are shown that how the seed is produced. And one question would be asked always is, Madam, you produce seed on jawar grain? So yeah, we produce it on jawar grain. And once they have seen that seed on the jawar grain, their sight changes. Then they taste the mushroom on that day itself in the lab. So somehow we have been doing this way, so that people come, they visit, because many of them they're not aware of what mushroom cultivation constitutes all about. So we carry out both the ways, and we generally work through NGOs and through SHGs.
Okay,
Thank you, Meera.
Thank you,
Hello.
madam.
Madam, good morning. Hello.
Yes, please
Am I
tell me, madam.
audible?
Yes, you're
I am
audible.
Dr. Sumana from College of Horticulture, Hiriyur.
Yes, tell me.
Madam, I am also wife of Dr. H.R. Ranganath, madam.
Yeah, tell us. Yeah.
So it was a very nice speech from you, and now I am going to do this mushroom production technology for our rural women and youth. So can you please suggest some of the key points for me, madam, to write a project and to proceed further in the mushroom technology?
But definitely, madam, please mail us. We will help you out in all ways.
Hello.
Definitely. We will help you out, madam. We will help you out in all ways. Please send us a mail, what exactly you require, and we will help you out. Definitely.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, madam.
Meera.
Hello, Dr. Girija. How are you?
Wonderful listening
Yeah.
to your talk. The vast information you try to cover, and beautiful aspects on entrepreneurial opportunities. Every aspect of it is very, very pertinent. I enjoyed listening to your talk.
Thank you.
My only question to you is, what is the prospects of liquid spawn production? I think I have heard about it in other countries. What about
Dr. Girija, actually, liquid spawn production has, is not, IHR has already started. We have already started, already 1 year on. We are working on it. But liquid
Okay.
spawn production is not very, it is not a very popular technique for the growers. Growers will not be much benefited unless and until it's a whole enterprise. There is only one Korean firm which grows king
Okay.
oyster mushrooms. They have their own spawn production. It's a totally automated lab, and they have their own liquid spawn production, because liquid spawn production will require a high degree of precision and automation, which will be a very, very capital intensive thing. So, and it has this time limit, you know that it will form a mat within 48 to 72 hours, it will form a mat. So it will not have so much, importance at the growers level, but it will make a tremendous impact for the spawn industry. So that is what we are doing now. We can, in fact, within the same time, if we use a hybrid method of liquid spawn and just the mother spawn, we can increase by almost 900 times within the same time frame. That much difference can be made.
I see a bright future for liquid spawn production, but I have no idea when you use liquid spawn, what is the rate of spread of the mycelium and whether it withstands, unlike the grain one.
That portion of this thing we are doing it, but we are mostly concentrating on making the liquid culture and making mother spawn out of that, so that the mother spawn directly goes to the we do not have the generation 1, generation 2 and all those things. And the best part is liquid can be very easily automated. So, in one sitting of say 2 hours, you can, instead of taking that culture bit and putting in every bottle, you can simply inoculate thousands of bottles in one go. So that is going to make a lot of difference.
Nice it is. Nice listening to you, Meera, after a long 5 years.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Dr. Varghese, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Very, very good morning and good afternoon,
Yes, sir,
Meera.
good afternoon.
A very happy, productive, what I won't say retired, not retired, another
Superannuation.
I've struggled with this one thing, See, in my garden, for example, every rainy season, wherever I go out into the, say, maybe the stages and all, I see a lot of mushrooms and they look so nice and so tasty, mouth-watering also, but I'm scared to collect them. See,
Yes,
my
sir.
question has always, before also, I've sent you some pictures also.
Yes, sir. Yes,
How,
sir.
for a layman, just how does he discriminate between an edible and a non-edible? I think we should bring that into focus because not only growing mushrooms, I like silkworm, wild silkworm. We can go and collect mushrooms from the forest and sell it in the market if you know this.
Yes, yes.
How do
Sir,
we do it?
Actually, sir, I mean, for mushrooms, there are specific identification characters are there, and guides are available for that is all there. Among the toxic mushrooms, sir, the thing is, Amanita family is one which is highly toxic. In fact, very very specific characters are there that if you have a sac at the bottom of the stem, don't touch those mushrooms. To be on safer side, don't touch those mushrooms. But otherwise, sir, just merely looking and saying is very difficult. Sometimes when I have been going to the forest areas, I also depend upon the local people to tell me, they go by, where the mushroom is growing. If it is growing on some edible tree, they say it is edible. When I went to Gujarat, I collected a mushroom which is highly edible and makes people collect it and make a living out of it during that season. It grows on bamboo. And just by the side of that, there is another plant on which almost similar looking mushroom grows. It has minute differences, but for a layman, yeah, it's almost similar. And I said, now you see, both are similar. Then they say, if it is not on bamboo, we don't take it.
Okay.
So this is how I have also been learning like that, apart from identifying the species. So, and there are certain toxic species which are really toxic, like Amanita and Galerina and all that. I think those pictures must always be with the person who's going to the forest areas. Don't touch them. The rest all are, even if they're non-edible, at the most, there will be just one vomiting and you're all right. They're not toxic to that extent. So I mean, this is the status as of now, as far as identification is concerned.
Is the Ganoderma edible?
Ganoderma is not, it is not edible in the sense you cannot make a vegetable out of it, sir. It's very bitter to taste. It is very, very bitter to taste. So only that powder is used. That is why it is used as only as a medicinal dose. Very small amount is used as medicinal dose.
Oh, very good, very good. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? That Krishna Reddy is there, sir, if you are available. Is there? Dr. Ramagowda.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, madam.
Yeah,
Good afternoon.
With the COVID coming in, and a lot of people are started this mushroom culture. And way back when I was a student, I too did some mushroom culture as part of undergraduate this one. And we started an enterprise to sell to our teachers, but later discontinued because of the cost factor. In the recent past, what I observed in the last 4 or 5 months, in the market, if you go to a vendor, it will be around 40 plus per around 200 grams. And if you go to malls, it is around 60 plus.
Yeah.
And at the same time, in the evening hours, we are getting some people coming in autos and cars. They're selling at the rate of 25. If this goes, of course, for consumer part, it is good. You will get a good food at a very affordable rate. But it is economically viable for a producer. And most of the time when I inquired with these people who are coming and selling at in the evening hours, they're not producers. They are all traders only.
They're all middlemen.
Traders,
Yeah. See, what happens is, especially from November to February or March, there's a glut of button mushroom in the market. What happens is, button mushroom is grown as a seasonal crop in entire Haryana, Punjab, Delhi, Himachal. And that mushroom comes to South India because they hardly, spend anything on producing that mushroom. And that mushroom comes to southern India and it is picked up by the traders. And that is how that glut is being sold in the southern market. And also in Ooty, there's a glut in the market at that time. So that is how it is sold at that rate by, because the producers also, when they have, because they do it seasonal, the climate is congenial, they have their own straw, they make the compost by long method, they don't bother about the yields, whatever little they are getting, that is sufficient for them. All they have invested is one labor, that's all. So it perhaps, even in the Delhi market, the price of button mushroom goes to around 50 rupees a kg in those months. So they are making profit. That is why they are selling it.
Okay, madam, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, hope everybody is satisfied and got new knowledge on mushrooms.
Madam? Hello.
Hello.
Yes, tell me please, somebody, Lata.
Madam, when will you organize a training for this button mushroom? The farmers are asking for button mushroom training, madam.
Button mushroom training, it is better that you, instead of taking from IIHR, you take it from DMR Solan.
No, madam, they are from they are not able to go to that
No,
long
they don't
distance.
have to go. It is anyway online training. Even from IHR also it is online. From there also it is online.
Okay, madam. They wanted a hands-on training. That's what.
No, right now hands-on training is not available anywhere in India.
Okay, madam. Okay. Thank you. Madam, how about this cost, madam? Because it needs a high investment for this button mushroom to cultivate in this area, but we are getting a very low price in the market during this time. So how it is it works out, madam?
It will not work out unless and until you have enough capital investment.
Yes, ma'am.
That is why you should give the right picture to the farmers that if you have this kind of a capital investment, yes, it will work out. Otherwise, it will not work out.
Okay. But then they are not getting a good market. They are telling they are not getting a good market for this oyster mushroom. So they wanted to shift it to.
No, there's enough of good market. In Bangalore, oyster mushrooms are being sold at higher price than button mushroom.
But yes, madam, they are not getting the linkage. We are telling them to link to some good.
No, from which place you are in? From which place you're talking?
The farmer is from Kanakpura, madam.
Kanakpura, there's enough of market. There's so much of market. He can go even to this Sri Ravi Shankar's ashram. There itself, the whole thing will be at least 50 kg per day can be sold there. Provided he is doing an organic cultivation.
Yes, madam, organic cultivation. But he said he has not got a good market, so he wanted to shift.
No, there's enough good market. Enough market is there. As I told you, button mushrooms are being sold in Whitefield at 350 rupees. Oyster mushrooms are being sold at 350 rupees a kg.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, madam, if they told them to contact you, the IHR. So is there any better buyers list you have, madam, so that you can share them?
No buyers list. He can contact. First of all, his produce has to be seen. See, people simply talk like that. When you actually ask them, they will not have the produce. So we want to make sure that that person is actually, what he's claiming is actually doing that.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we are coming to the end of this session. I thank both the speakers, Dr. Shivananda and Dr. Meera Pandey, for sharing their views and giving excellent talk in their respective topics. I additionally thank Dr. Varghese, Dr. Krishna Reddy, who joined, Dr. Chandis Madam, Dr. Girija, Dr. Ram Gowda, Dr. Sumana, and all others from IHR, and outside also. From the side of association, we profusely thank you for joining in this these two talks. Next month we'll be meeting with with a new talk with the new speaker. Till then, bye for everybody. Thank you, everybody. Bye. we'll be
Thank you.
closing this session.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a
Okay,
lot.
thank you. Welcome. Bye.
Thanks a lot.